call the Ways and Means to order. Please stand. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Morrow?
Here.
Mr. Harrington?
Here.
Mr. Maryhill?
Here.
Mr. Gardner?
Here.
Mr. Douglas has been excused. Mr. Farabee has been excused. Mr. Blades?
Here.
Mr. McNally?
Here.
Mr. Skazababa?
Here.
Mr. Cannon?
Here.
Mr. Pleedy?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Marnell?
Here.
Mr. Whitson?
Here.
Mr. Grinnell?
Here.
Mr. Connell?
Here.
Mr. Gilliland has been excused. Mr. Preston?
Here. We have no special guests on the agenda, but we do have Jim Dugan and Nathan Pohl here from AES. If anyone has any questions, I would offer courtesy of the floor. If not, I understand there's a meeting after this meeting. Okay, we'll move to resolutions.
Resolution authorizing a budget amendment in the Community Resources Department to increase revenues and appropriations by $217,950 for Ausable River Association.
Moved by Mr. Morrow. Second, Mr. Cannon. Discussion? Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 2, authorizing a budget amendment in the Community Resources Department to increase revenues and appropriations by $38,195.50 for snowmobile funds.
Moved by Mr. Connell, second Mr. Cannon. Discussion? Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 3, accepting and placing on file the 2014 Weights and Measures Annual Report.
Moved by Mr. Marnell, second by Mr. Whitson. Discussion? Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 4, authorizing the issuance of a permit to Lake Placid Marathon Inspiration Sports, LLC for the use of county roadways for the 2015 Lake Placid Marathon.
Moved by Mr. Politi, seconded by Mr. Harrington. Discussion. Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 5, authorizing the purchasing agent to award the contract to Green Mountain Communications Incorporated in the amount of $8,080 for the Terry Mountain Radio Tower inventory and inspection.
Moved by Mr. Grinnell, second. Mr. Gardner. Probably no discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 6, accepting and placing on file the 2014 Personnel Annual Report to the New York State Civil Service Commission.
Moved by Mr. Cannon, second by Mr. Maryhill. Discussion. Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 7, authorizing payment in the total amount of $9,524.86 to CVS Caremark for reimbursement of benefits paid.
Moved by Mr. Blades, second by Mr. Morrow. Discussion? Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
We do have a couple from the floor.
We do have a couple resolutions that will need to be moved from the floor. Go ahead and read them.
Okay. It's a resolution authorizing the submission of the Community Development Block Grant application. It's for the Home Buyer Assistance Program.
Moved by Mr. Grinnell, second by Mr. Connell. Discussion. Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And the second one is a resolution authorizing submission of the Community Development Block Grant application. This is for a countywide septic system replacement program.
Moved by Mr. Marnell, second by Mr. Maryhill. Discussion. Being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
That's the only two I have.
Any other resolutions from the floor? Mr. Cannon.
I believe personnel needs one to pay CVS Caremark invoices that are included in the documentation.
Actually, that was number 7 on the list. That one did get in the list.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, that was number 7. And just as an explanation to that, what happens is we sometimes have either retirees or employees who qualify both for for our drug card and Medicaid. And sometimes when they go into the drugstore, they present their Medicaid card first. When they're not supposed to, they're supposed to submit our card. And what happens is the drug company, CVS in this case, paid those claims back to the Medicaid, and we're reimbursing them for that because those claims should have went to us first. They went to Medicaid instead. Medicaid is always payer of last resort.
Any further resolutions from the floor? Not, I have one. I'd like to move a resolution of condolences to the family of James Sherman, who recently passed, who was retired Town of Mariah Justice. Second. Thank you. Mr. Grinnell.
This is not a resolution, it's a comment and a question. There's a good number of communities in the area that have been suffering real budgetary complications from the cold weather. This was brought to my attention by the Honorable Ernest Guerin of Port Henry, who's a real reputable member of Mr. Skazapava's constituency. And in spite of that, I'd still like to bring it forward that it would be beneficial to a number of communities if the county can look into the possibility of some type of FEMA, state, whatever reimbursement. It's a natural disaster no matter how you look at it. We're looking at Ticonderoga, we're looking at upwards of 20 main breaks, and I don't know how many individual lateral freeze-ups that we've been subject to this winter, and we've got a ways to go by the weather forecast just for this week alone. And there's a lot of money being given out for snow in Rochester and Long Island and Boston. I don't know that snow is any colder than ice.
I think you raise a valid point. I think we all have been dealing with the issues of not only the weekend storms, but the cold, the pipe breaks, and the freeze-ups. I know the town and village, we've been working together on a lot of the freezing water lines. I think the village did just put out a notice for people to let their water run, and they'll make it up at the end with the water meters because they're metered. But I think that's an excellent suggestion. I did read in the Times-Union that a lot of the towns down around Albany, in that area, Saratoga County, and also are going to ask the governor's office, I believe, for some special appropriations. The problem that you have, even with the DPW, but if you have water districts, those are very limited budgets to begin with, and it doesn't take many call-outs such as we've been having to, empty your reserves in that water district budget. Then you run into a real issue. But if you want to put that in the form of a resolution, and we could have Mike and Dan help write it for full board, but I think it's a great suggestion.
I would make that resolution.
For a second, Mr. Gardner. Mr. Marnell, discussion? Being none, all in favor? Aye. All carried. Mr. Blades?
Excuse me. I'd like to offer courtesy of the floor to Patty Bashaw. Patty's got a concern with the state funding stream, and she needs to bring something to our attention. You're a chair.
You're quiet.
Actually, it's a good thing, but the timing of the state is crazy right now. We got a call Thursday. We had a conference call Friday morning, and on that conference call, they asked us to put in an advance for 25% of our BIP, which is a balancing incentive program. I put this on your desk. So what I'm asking for is a resolution to increase my appropriations and revenues by $55,927.75. It's all, there's no county match. It's all 100% funded by the feds and the state.
Moved by Mr. Blades. Second, Mr. Marnell, Mr. Cannon. Discussion? Mr. Maryhill.
I follow out the other award piece increases, the wage, the retirement, is that for something specific, or is that just averaged out?
What we're doing is putting the staff back up to 37 and a half hours. We pumped them back at the end of last year. It cuts way down on my comp time, so it'll only be until September 30th that will happen.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Connell?
I'd like to move a resolution offer of condolences to the Gordon Decker family. Gordon was president of the Westport Fire District for years. He was president of the Westport School Board, and he served on numerous committees for the town of Westport.
Unanimous second? Second. Thank you. Anything further?
I had a question. I just wonder how we can continue rolling the ball down the hill on Roby's comments on the crosswalk. It's not something we should just sit here and let die. We should pump that. We should somehow...
Use your mic, not your light.
It's been a rough day already.
I see you keep adjusting that light.
Anyhow, it was a great document, and I think we ought to get behind it and keep pushing. Don't just let it sit here and die. I don't know what the answer is or how to go about that, but we ought to just bring that to the fore every chance we get.
Mr. Well, I saw Randy's note that came from Judy that he wrote to all of us. I think that's the right start, to request a meeting with the governor.
I have not seen that yet.
And I think you'll find it in your email. And so he did take the initiative, and I think that that's the proper beginning. But I thank you, George.
Mr. Grinnell?
Yeah, I would add one suggestion to that, is that someone take Mr. Polidi's comments, put them in the form of a motion for a resolution that the board can pass and send to the legislature and the governor and everybody involved. We're going to meld an attack here on a fence. Let's send it in every direction we can.
After talking to the governor, don't piss him off.
I would, leave that to Mr. Politi, but maybe right now it might be premature. Maybe we should wait until we have the conversation with the governor's office.
Well, I know Randy and Bill are in Washington right now. I know that it is going to be a subject of conversation, and I agree with Bill. I think that it's something that we do need to endorse at some point. The timing of such, I guess, is...
We can, if you want to move...
I mean, if we want to have it when the governor comes, or is in town, to be able to show him that there's a full support of this board, I do think it's a good idea.
So you're moving that, Mr. Grinnell?
I mean, I certainly will move it with Bill's second.
Unanimous second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Kansas.
And I think the same resolution should go to Warren County and Hamilton County and all the counties in the area to there's strength in numbers. And once we get that ball rolling, we ought to keep it going.
I think it's important to recognize that a lot of the employment for all of our venues come from counties outside of Essex. So I do think that that is important, George.
I think each individual town also, for the resolution of support, would be critical. And as you pointed out, there will be a number of people from Mariah work for Florida.
Yeah.
And also use the Olympic venues for luge and skeleton and so on. Okay, anything further, Dan? I know you have, I'm sorry. Mr. Marnell?
Yeah. Of course, we know it's been a tough winter. And I have a question for Dan. I think several years ago, the law passed that you could compensate a highway superintendent for in emergency situations or prolonged weather-related items.
If that's the case, I'm not aware of it, but I'll certainly look.
It seems like if you would check that, because, as you know, a highway superintendent's on a salary, and but it seems to me there was one time, yes, there is, don't shake your head, no.
You can't, if they're an elected official, I can tell you, you can raise their salary. I've been down that road, but you have to have a legal notice and it's required public hearing. Any elected official, you can reduce their salary, but if you increase their salary, you absolutely have to have a legal notice and a public hearing.
Yeah. Well, there was, if Dan would check it out, but there was a few years ago, something brought forward, or when you did have extreme weather-related or issues, that they could be compensated above their advertised salary.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
Anything further?
I do have one from the Transportation Department. She's asking to set up a reserve account for future capital purchases with surplus funds from the trolley sale in the amount of $37,100. This is, we sold the trolleys, this was the revenue from it, and she has to spend that on future capital purchases within transportation, so she's just asking to put this into a reserve account.
Moved by Mr. Miguel, second, Mr. Connell. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Anything further to come before this committee?
That's what I say.
If not, we stand adjourned.